cashed in our 401ks, everything that we had saved up until that point in our life. And we just said, let's just throw this shit at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
And it was a big ass Hail Mary.
Yeah. Here's what I'm excited to talk about today. We have a really long history together personally. I'm super intrigued to hear some of the old stories of us starting to tattooing, you starting to tattoo. The origin story is pretty fun and interesting. You didn't have any tattoos before.
0 tattoos.
Yeah. So what was some of your first like exposures to tattoo and tattooing and stuff, and like fun little story behind that?
I had been riding motorcycles most of my life. I think I started riding motorcycles when I was 15, 16 years old.
Yeah.
But I was riding, at this point when we moved to Nevada, pretty much Harleys exclusively. I had gotten through all my dirt bike riding and all that stuff and was riding Harleys. So Becky and I used to go on these poker runs. And so we would meet all these people from all throughout the Las Vegas Valley. Some of them were, with outlaw motorcycle clubs and stuff like that. And then some of them were just Christian clubs, all kinds of, veterans clubs.
Yeah.
We'd get together it seemed like it was one Sunday every month. We'd have what they call a poker run. I don't know if everybody knows what that is, but you'd ride from bar to bar, and you'd get a card when you arrived at the next bar until you got a poker hand and somebody would win. I forgot the exact details of how it works, but that was where I started seeing, people take their jackets off, and almost everybody I saw had a tattoo. And I was like, whoa, I've never run around with tattooed people. I worked in civil engineering for 30 years, so I didn't meet a lot of tattooed people. So I was like, oh, that's kind of cool. Started looking at tattoos and also started asking, where do you get your tattoos? And everything led to this one shop, called Studio Tattoo on Boulder Highway. And that was like the place to get your tattoo, at least from all the biker types that I was talking to. So I don't know, that was where my influence was coming from. So I went and got my first tattoo, and I don't remember if you went with me when I got my first one. I think it was the second one that you went with me.
Yeah.
I went and got a tattoo of an image that I always liked that my grandma had a picture of on her wall. It was called All Is Vanity. Super famous. Most people know what it is if they see it. The skull with the lady looking in a mirror.
Yeah, her head is like the eyes of the skull, and then all the perfume bottles on the bottom are the teeth. Yeah.
And so I went to this lady and I took her this image and asked her if she could do it. She did it. Came home. We all looked at it and talked about it, and we decided it needed some more stuff.
Yeah.
And so the next time I went, we decided to put some flames around it.
Some skulls.
You went with me, and you were 10 years old. I remember very clearly that I was like, I don't know, I guess it's okay to bring your kid to a tattoo shop. Nobody said I couldn't. So you came along, you watched the process. We talked about it while we were talking to her. And on the way out of that shop, after I got my flames added, we stopped in the parking lot, and I think both of us were, even you at 10 years old, you were probably already thinking, hey, this would be kind of a cool thing to do.
Yeah, I remember asking her a lot of questions.
And I looked at you and I said, we should tattoo together. And you were like, yeah. And it was like, that was a long, it was in 80, that was in 90, probably 90, 91, pretty early on in the 90s.
Yeah.
After we moved out here. So that kind of, then I decided to add another tattoo some months later, and I let you design it for me, and it was a cool,
like a 54 Buick front grille.
Yeah.
53.
This guy. Which kind of faded out right now, but look at the line work, how sweet it still looks.
Biker flames.
All those used to be color. Anyway, that was my second, third session of getting tattooed, and then Austin went along. You went with me several times.
Yeah, I don't remember what else you got from her. I don't know. I remember being there a couple times for those.
Yeah, this was that first one with everything had to have flames back in those days. If you didn't have fucking flames. There was one time that I was with some Hells Angels at a party, and they had a guy in a corner that had a tattoo machine and a setup. And I would never forget walking in there. Becky and I rode all the way over to Henderson, off Boulder Highway somewhere. A lot of bikers out there.
Yeah.
And we'd been invited to this party with a friend of mine, Clancy. And we walked in, and I had a really heavy leather jacket, and I'm in a room full of real intimidating looking bikers and stuff. And they had a hall tree where you hang your coat.
Yeah.
And I hung my coat, and it fell over in the middle of everything. Everybody's kind of like, whoa. I was like, oh, sorry. And then the guy tried to tattoo my head. He wanted to flame my head. And I was like, I thought about it for a minute, and I never flamed my head. I'm so glad I didn't. I think I would have probably regretted that. I don't look as fast as I used to, so I don't need flames on my head.
You had a full head of hair then?
So that's, yeah, I had a long ponytail and stuff.
Yeah, because you
I had no facial hair.
Really
I had maybe a mustache, long ponytail, kind of a Leonard Skinner look back in those days.
Yeah.
Before I got robbed by some gangsters and shaved my head and grew a beard so I could change my look.
So then from there, we went on to basically starting to kind of like cruise around and check out other tattoo shops in town, venture out of that one.
Yeah.
And then trying to remember like all
over those years. Yeah, I think we kind of put that on the back burner for a while. Obviously, you were clearly too young to be into tattooing. It wasn't until you were in high school, you were drawing some tattoo designs for kids that were getting tattooed.
Yeah,
right?
well, yeah. So I definitely remember you bringing home Tattoo Magazine, Tattoo Industry Magazine. I can't remember which ones. And then I started looking at those and just drawing all of that stuff out of there anyway. And then we slowly, then like in high school, I personally started getting kids asking me to draw their tattoos for them. And then I remember one day in like my sophomore year in class, this kid came in and he was like, "Hey, I want to get a tattoo. I'll give you $50 to draw me something." And I literally took that $50 and sat down and drew through that whole entire class and completely ignored the class. And I gave it to him. And then he came back the very next day with this jester tattooed on the side of his leg that I drew. And I specifically remember thinking like, damn, that is like, I mean, I remember seeing my tattoo or my drawing on you as a tattoo, but the fact
that you made money at it for the first time.
It was like a different kind of experience. And the fact that I got paid $50, and that's usually what I would work a full shift for like tips after school. And I just did it during school. And so,
what were you getting tips for? Where were you?
Just busting tables at Magoo's or something, a little bar. And then, but anyway, I remember specifically being like so pumped that I got paid $50 to draw that. And then it turned into like, oh, my other friend told me that you drew this. And then I drew a tribal armband for Tony, a good buddy of mine, and he got that tattooed on him. And then I just started going, and I was like, can I go to these shops with you guys? And then I would just go in after high school and like,
there weren't that many shops in Vegas at the time.
And they were pretty rough. And
we went to, Doc's was down on the strip where the Pawn Stars is now.
Yeah, they leveled that shop.
And then there was one on Spring Mountain where Dave, who apprenticed us eventually.
Yeah.
I can't remember the
Desert
name of
Ink.
Desert, no.
Well, Desert Ink was on Charleston. Yeah.
But there were only, there was probably less than 10. I would say 7 tattoo shops in the valley at the time.
Yeah, not much. I don't definitely remember. I remember there was like one downtown called Tattoos R Us. And that's where like kids and my coworkers and friends started going down there to get tattooed. And that place was hella sketchy.
Yeah. But may have gotten burned down or something remember Doc used to.
Or somebody. Yeah.
Make tattoo shops disappear. Eliminate the competition, I guess they called it.
But then where did we shortly go? Like in high school, I started watching them get tattooed. And then it kind of took a break there for a little bit. And then like 18 or 19, I started going with a couple of my buddies up to this shop that was near us called Pricks Tattoos. And I went in there and watched them get a couple of tattoos and started like talking. That was the first shop I went into where I felt like, oh, I can talk to these people and they're like nicer to me. And that's where I met my mentor, Dave.
But Trey was first, remember? We both tried to apprentice under Trey, and he was surrounded by some interesting people, and we just didn't feel comfortable. Remember?
Yeah.
And we moved on to Dave.
Yeah, and then Dave
Dave asked you to draw for him or something.
But he wouldn't like give me a tattoo apprenticeship until I got tattooed, and then I was like, oh shit, okay, well, okay, well, I want to do this. So I want to so then I went to the library and I did all this research on the god of I don't even know why I'm forgetting it right now. The elephant.
The Ganesh.
The Ganesh. Yeah. Which
Right.
is, I can't even remember the details of it. But that's how bad my memory is. But
I don't know.
anyway,
Some
I just really was just attracted to. I was drawing a lot of
That's
elephants.
some Hindu shit.
Yeah, some awesome stuff. And so I did a bunch of beautiful drawings of the Ganesh, and I brought him into him, and he was like, "Let's do this," and I was like, "Okay, cool." He goes like, "Right now," and I was like, "Oh, okay, yeah, all right." And I just remember getting all clammy and like super nervous and scared, and then I got up in his chair, and he freaking shaved my leg, and I just remember, like, I don't know why I specifically remember that, like, wow, I've never shaved my legs before. Like, that's so, it feels super weird. And then
he was nice and approachable, though.
Yes,
like some of the people we were meeting weren't that approachable, and almost like it was a thing to intimidate people when you were a tattooer back when we started. That was like the way tattooers felt like I don't know if it empowered them somehow, but I heard that from many tattooers. They enjoyed intimidating people.
Yeah, it just wasn't.
Which seemed weird to us.
Yeah,
we're like, I don't know why would you want to intimidate somebody?
I was like a nerd from the suburbs, I always said, and I just wanted to draw and tattoo, so that's all I wanted to do. So what we did from there is like we made that connection with Dave, and it was awesome. And he offered to teach me how to tattoo, and his goal was to like open up his own shop. So then from there, it just turned into this like fun, crazy adventure where you started coming up a lot
away
too.
Asked him, hey, when you're done teaching Austin, can you teach me? And he was like, absolutely.
Yeah.
Because at the time, if you remember, there were so many people waiting in line to get tattooed. There was a serious shortage of tattooers.
Yeah.
And I think that's why we had a real not easy entry, but easier than you would today for.
And a few of those shops like Trey's, they started really like opening up their doors to in a more friendly manner, kind of, and like throwing parties and doing events and promoting themselves. So but
it was also Flash too. When we started, it was all Flash.
Yeah.
When we started tattooing, Dave and Aaron Delvedova were probably the only two guys in the valley that actually designed the tattoo and drew it on somebody. I don't know, maybe a few others.
Or at least one. Yeah.
There wasn't very many. But we worked in a Flash shop. Our first Pricks was all Flash, remember?
Yeah.
All the walls were covered in Flash, and that's what we did. You'd crank out. How many tattoos did we do a day? I don't know. I used to do like a dozen a day.
Corey Miller Flash and all the
what's the
Cherry Creek,
the ferries, the girl that did the ferries.
Stuff,
I can't remember her name.
Yeah, Carrie Barba. A bunch of like real fun old school artists, and they would come through that shop actually. So I got to meet a lot of
Eric Perfect's Flash, and
that
was one of my favorite Flash artists.
Yeah.
We didn't at the time know about Phil Luck, but there were so many really good Flash artists around back then. Nobody realizes that now the internet is just Flash. It's just come off the wall, and now it's on your computer. It's but still, you're still copying images that other people have done. So nothing's original,
Yeah. So then from there, we started getting. Let's see. I went with Dave. He decided he was going to open up his own shop. So we left there, and I went over with him and learned how to tattoo. And
what was the name of that shop?
Mach 5.
Originally, though.
Accents and Art.
Accents and Art. We called it Accidents and Art because so many weird things happened in there.
Yeah, it had like a weird rumor back in the day of this. They had an artist that the guy with Bob was a really nice guy who owned it, but I guess his son was a little wild at the time and nodded off during a tattoo and just literally drew a line down this person's back while he was doing this tattoo. And I always heard that story. And years later, I randomly ran across this guy. He's like, "Oh, I got tattooed on that weird shop down on Charleston or whatever." It's like, it's a different shop now, And I was like, "Oh, really? What?" He's like, "Yeah, my artist like fell asleep on me." And
you met the guy?
Yeah, and it was at a party or something.
I never know that.
And he turned around and pulled up his shirt, and sure enough, he had this shitty half-done tattoo and this line that just turned into dots, like jamming down his back.
That was just the end of his back piece, and he just kept it.
Yeah, he never got it covered up.
Awesome.
Yeah. So anyway, that place got the,
hence the name Accidents in Art, which was pretty funny.
The owner, Bob, was cool. He was the one, he took me in. And
when he fired his son, I think that's when Dave got his spot in there.
I think so, because he needed to hire other artists and stuff. So, so Dave
Bob
got in there and then brought us in. It was a small, like maybe 1,200 square foot little rectangle space that had 6 artists in it that rotated in and out of like 3 booths, but there would be like 4 or 5 on duty, and they would all be smoking in there. Not on duty, but just hanging out, waiting for people
playing with handguns,
smoking cigarettes in there. So like it was so nasty in there. It was so nasty.
Smokiest place ever.
So that's where I did my apprenticeship, and I just remember all these.
It was like tattooing in a bar.
I remember this tattooer that would never wash his hands, and he would just put new gloves on, and we wore powdered gloves back then. So he would pull them off and then just slowly pick off all the caked on powder off of his hands all day long and put it on the floor. I'm not going to mention his name. Like,
somebody we still know.
Yeah, probably. I was like, that's the most fucking disgusting thing I've ever seen. But
I know who you're talking.
There was some awesome.
I know who it was. Okay, never mind.
long hair Matt. He was cool as hell, man. He was. They call him Lowrider Matt. He did all black and gray stuff and had long hair went all the way down past his ass, and he was super sweet. But so we hung out there right for a while, and then we ended up. There's like, I don't know why I'm forgetting. Like,
it went from Accidents in Art to Mach 5.
Yeah. Okay. So he bought it. He Dave ended up buying that shop and then transforming it into Mach 5.
And then that's when we were full-time tattooing by then. And that wasn't very long. It was the early 90s still. All right. I'm sorry.
But I still had a job.
Late 90s, wasn't it?
Yeah. Cause I was like, it was like 99.
98 is when we started apprenticing. Yeah. So we were full on tattooing in art sometime in 99.
Yeah.
At Mach 5.
Yeah. And then from there, I went up. I left there because I really wanted to tattoo full time, and I still had a full time job. So I went from there up to Pricks, because Pricks, they had some guys leave or something. And I went back to the shop where we started hanging out at the very beginning to do our apprenticeship.
I remember tattooing at Pricks, and I remember when we were apprenticing, we had to draw that was how we kind of learned to draw we would customize some of those flash pieces or Jesse girl, and you and I were always back there drawing little pieces for people, and I guess that's kind of
so that's like where I went full time there. And I was really excited because I was tattooing all the damn time. Man, that shop was super busy. The guy Trey, he was a great promoter. Wild ass human, but he could promote the hell out of the tattoo shop.
People would wait 6 hours to get tattooed.
Yeah.
No appointments. You just walked in and waited.
Everybody would just smoke out front and hang out and drink. Or
there was a big party there.
All the time. There was always different people answering the phone and hanging out in the shop. Like, there was lots of crazy transactions, we'll call it, going down in there. And then and a lot of cops too. And so there was a lot of weird
Those
stories.
are interesting stories.
Yeah, so I don't know. So then, like, when one unique thing about you is, like, you obviously didn't start at a young age. You started tattooing like
I was about 45.
Yeah, you had already had a full career as a land surveyor,
right?
So you worked in Houston and out there in the
Tennessee
sun for a long time. So I remember a lot of the decisions that came into play for you. Getting out of that career was because of the skin cancer, sun exposure. So you had some pretty gnarly surgeries go down, and you ended up kind of spontaneously deciding.
Yeah, my oncologist told me if you don't stop working in the sun, it's going to kill you. And I was like, I have another option.
Yeah.
And then that's when I had already started. I remember I would go to work surveying at 5 a.m. I'd get off at 1. I would drive to Pricks, and I'd work from about 1:30, 1:45 until 11 or midnight, and then do it over and over.
Yeah.
We did it every day almost.
You know, Trey ran like a really tight ship. He was definitely a guy who pushed me. I look at it now in such a good way to never turn down a walk-in. You always were. If your shop closed at 10 o'clock at night and 9:45 a tribal armband walked in, you better sit down and do that tribal armband. Back in the day, a tribal armband would take me fucking 3 hours. I was very slow and meticulous. And but
We did a lot of late nights,
down. So,
long days.
yeah, we did a lot of that stuff there, which was really great and super fun. So then from there, you kind of, you decided to go full time. So you quit there and then you came in to there.
I went full time at, I don't remember why we decided. Oh, Dave opened up. So then he asked if I wanted to come down there because he knew I was not doing, I wasn't doing bad there, but I just didn't, I felt the smoke and the parties and stuff. I kind of wanted to get focus on the tattoo thing and not so much the party thing.
So then I love how we can't remember shit really. But then we ended up back at like Maverick at Mach 5. So there was, it's funny because we kind of had these two shops. This is kind of funny. Two shops that we had our relationships with tattooing, our intro relationships were just between these two shops, and we went back and forth, and the ownership changed. Yeah. On one tattoo shop, the ownership changed like 3 times of me working there. So 3 completely different people were there running it.
Accidents in art, Mach 5, Bad Apple.
Yeah.
Whatever.
But it's still Bad Apple now. Yeah. So, so that way, that was kind of wild because then we bounced back and forth there. And then it just like, there was like always like some owner kind of turmoil between both of them. So we ended up just decided like, all right, we just got to go do our own thing. And it was not like you weren't supposed to do that back in the day.
No,
we were only like 3 years in at that time, I think 2.5 years before we opened up our own shop, which was a culturally a big no-no, and it still kind of is a big no-no or whatever. But like nowadays, I guess it's not, but everybody does that. Like you open up a shop the second you learn how to tattoo. But and if our adventure, or
if you can make it work, it's not a bad gig.
Yeah, and like the whole reason why we did that is just because we didn't have like a healthy space, like a place where we were like that we felt it was like as healthy as it could have.
There were times when it didn't even seem safe.
No, for sure.
We saw lots of violence and craziness. Over those first 3 years.
Yeah. So then we kind of like went into kind of survival mode, and we're like, all right, well, there's no other place that I would be interested in working at because there was no options.
Yeah.
So we decided to open up our shop, and we opened up a little tiny space so that back then, like the zoning wasn't like. Yeah.
Before we opened up, remember what we were talking about earlier about the naming it? I thought that was an interesting story.
Yeah. We sat down in your living room and came up. I think everybody wrote like 50 plus names down. And I feel like I kind of walked in and we were all just sitting there discussing. We were
just frustrated. We just had so many stupid names.
And at that time, everybody was naming their shops like
Stinky Monkey.
Yeah. Chrome Donkey or whatever. Yeah. And like silly.
All the names were so weird.
Yeah, they were real off the wall. So I just was like, all right, I don't feel any of that. Like we need to do something that stands out. Being in Vegas, there was like a number that always popped into our heads that was like culturally is just a big number. It was 21. You gotta pretty much be 21 to live the life of that Vegas provides, and gambling and blackjack and everything. So
21st century, it was the beginning of the 21st century. Yeah. 21's everywhere.
Yeah. So
3-7.
I was like, why don't we just call it Studio 21?
Boom.
And then we just
it clicked immediately as soon as you like pushed yourself away from the table. I remember we were all frustrated and you just went, let's just call it Studio 21. And you were just like almost pissed, and we're like, yeah, that sounds great.
Yeah. And it was just like it was a real simple. I don't know. I didn't like at the time we made fun of all these other shop names that had little catchy, weird characters and stuff. It was like too easy to make fun of them. I was like, you can't really make fun of Studio 21. It's just blah. Like
at the time,
blah, but it just is like.
At the time, my favorite shop name was Avalon down in San Diego. I just love the name of that shop, and I love the vibe of that. We both did. We got tattooed down there. We liked
that was a great shop. That was like, kind of jumping all around, but like back to that was like a big part of our youth and intro into tattooing was our trips to San Diego, because like you ended up getting your sleeve. Our mentor was close with Aaron Della Vedova. They both had tattooed out of Vegas or did their apprenticeships here in Vegas, I think. So then Aaron moved out to San Diego, and we were introduced by him from Dave, and I was just like so incredibly impressed with both of their tattooing.
Super nice guys, super talented individuals.
Yeah. So then we started like, we would get tattooed by Dave, and then we were like, Dave did most of your left sleeve, right? And then we started making trips to go to San Diego, and you started getting your other sleeve done out there.
Yeah.
So that was back when he was at Avalon in Pacific Beach there on Garnett. And then later on, he went on
Working for Patty Kelly was that shop.
And there was so many legends in that shop.
She was the daughter of Moose Kelly, who was like a super famous artist back at the. You did album covers.
Oh, that's cool. I didn't know that.
Rock and roll artist. She was big time.
She was a badass though. And then, but anyway, so we've been kind of like back to Vegas. Where were we at?
Opening the shop. We were talking about.
Yeah, talking about
Studio 21.
Yeah, and then so we picked out a small little location. We looked all over, and we were having a lot of trouble with any property managers
zoning
tattoo shop in.
Yeah.
So we kind of settled on a place that was down like in between two casinos, and it was on a main
They
drag.
called it
was
light industrial. Remember, you had to be in light industrial, so you were around
strip
warehouses and strip clubs.
Oh yeah,
And at that time, none of those were desirable places to tattoo after dark.
yeah, and massage parlors and stuff, and yeah, it was like a heavy cab throw or whatever. Right? So, which all ended up working out great for us because we got a ton of exposure. We were right off the strip, and all the cabs would use that road to cut through off the strip. So then it would expose us to like a lot of tourists, and then they would always bring people to us. And
We were super busy.
we opened up in 2003.
Just the two of us.
Yeah.
But we built out four booths, or the two up front. We had the two.
3 in the back and 2 up front. One was mom's office.
Yeah.
So that was like a whole nother thing. My mom was actually, she still had her full-time job, and she's a graphic designer and illustrator. So once I came up with the name, then my mom, we sent it over to her to get all the logo done. And she's the one that really like led us on and educated us
Branding.
on branding and clean, legible logo, and really like elevated us as far as other tattoo shops at the time on a professionalism and the way that we, not exposed ourselves, but just like just branded
Presented ourselves to the
market. Yeah,
She was really good at that. Obviously, she still is really good. But
yeah.
she was certainly an integral part in
Yeah,
the
so
growth of our shop.
So she brought the logo and the name and was there, and then we just basically needed to build out our shop. And I think you had sold a couple of Harleys at the time.
I decided that it wasn't worth the risk if I crashed and broke a hand or something.
Yeah.
It was not a good time. Sold those and used some of that money, and Becky and I cashed in our 401ks, everything that we had saved up until that point in our lives, which was, we had worked a lot of years before that.
Yeah.
We were in our mid 40s, and we just said, let's just throw this shit at the wall and see if it sticks.
Yeah.
It was a big ass Hail Mary.
Yeah.
It was scary as hell.
Like I luckily was like a pretty, I was like well networked, and I had a lot of young friends and stuff too that all wanted to get tattoos. So I jumped right in there.
Well, Vegas at the time, and I guess it still kind of is, it's like a small town. Like everybody knows everybody. Once you get a circle of friends going that know you and trust you, they send people to you.
Yeah. When I just started tattooing, there was only like one other young person that was learning how to tattoo that I knew of in the whole entire city.
Yeah.
So there was, my circle became huge.
Right.
It was like everybody's a friend of a friend of a friend came in, and we were so busy, and I started tattooing in like 6-7 days. Well, we did 7 days a week for like the first like 9 months. And I think
that was our goal, was to do the first year, and we worked 12 hours a day, 7 days a week, and we made it 7 to 9 months. We didn't make it a year, but hell, that was...
So take it like one day off each,
Yeah.
to where there'd be like one person would be in the shop.
We basically worked our tails off until we were just...
I had Tuesdays off or something like that.
It was cool.
But
And then we brought in an apprentice. I brought in an apprentice pretty quick, which was, again, probably shouldn't have done that, but we had to. We needed help.
Yeah, we needed help. And then
you couldn't hire anybody, so you had to teach somebody.
Yeah, and all the guys that were coming in were pretty rough and really wild.
Yeah.
So the stories that go on with that go for days about like just our initial, like our shop was right. And when you walked out of our shop, there was a freaking tunnel. It is a giant water drainage tunnel that was full of homeless people, and the homeless people,
criminals hiding from the law in other cities.
And it was insane. Like they would all just basically crawl out of this cave and walk into your shop and just ask you for shit or
try to sell you stolen goods.
I'm just standing there like treating everybody like a great customer when they walk in. I remember 2 women walked in and they were like, yeah, we want to get tattooed. I was like, oh, cool, right on. here's what we want to get. I'm like, cool, I could do that. I can draw this up for you. And I was like, it'll be about like $250. And they were like, $250? Like, what? Fuck you. Like, how about you get some of this for free? And they both lifted their dresses up over their head, butt naked. And I was like, what in the fuck? What is going on? So they closed I was like, no,
that was a normal day.
That's not how we operate around here. So, have a good day.
That was like a normal day at Studio 21.
Yeah. Thanks for the offer. The crackheads and like the rattlesnake tamer guy. I don't remember him. He got bit. He was just this weird homeless guy. Or I don't know if he's homeless or what, but
he looked like it. He was a desert rat.
Yeah, and he got bit by a rattlesnake, and Toll came to come in and tell me the craziest stories about the most disturbing shit he ever did with his thumb. You
always had your video camera ready and filmed
dig
everything.
Up all of that footage.
Oh,
man, because
I'm not sure we should even tell some of those stories. There's a lot of stories out of the early Studio 21.
So then we,
should repeat.
We
did bring
apprentice, like Aaron Jackman did a super good job.
He was our first apprentice.
Yeah, he was a manager at a skate shop and just did like these real small doodles, but he did them like really clean and very accurate. So good job to ride in. And he was a hard worker, a real smart dude, and
reliable.
Yeah, so he came in and he stayed with us for years before he left. And then over those years, and we developed new relationship with new people, and we ended up like that was 2003 to like 2005. We started getting to the point where we were outgrowing that little shop. And we started working with somebody that kind of like motivated us to make some bigger decisions. And we decided we wanted to build out a big shop that had 6 stations and everybody had their own booths. And we had this very, very detailed idea of how we wanted to be done. And we wanted to have the nicest shop in Las Vegas.
We went from 1,300 square feet to 2,600 square feet.
Yeah.
Just doubled the size of our shop.
Hired an architect.
Borrowed
a ton of money.
It's
been built out.
And
what Las Vegas hadn't seen any shop like.
I'll never forget the day, our opening day. We've been anticipating for a long time, 6 months, and the health department, notorious for being bullies, I guess you could say, they sent 5 inspectors to inspect our shop on opening day, and they found like a paper towel rack wasn't in one of the booths and wouldn't allow us to open, and we had people waiting outside. Becky's running around looking for a paper towel rack, and I said, let's just get the thing screwed on. And they just didn't want us just to open up easy, so they made it interesting for us. It was a great, exciting day, but a paper towel rack really cool.
They were also flattering us by like they had never seen plans like that done for a tattoo shop that came through. So then they wanted to also like share with everybody, and they kind of turned us into this like, oh, okay, well, these guys do it like this now. I don't know if they had raised their expectations or what, but we had to do more. It was almost like, oh, okay, well then you're gonna have to do this like the
salons do or something. I don't know, whatever.
We had to. They got Becky to write the safety manual for tattooing, which the health department made everybody have in their shop going forward. We
I don't even think they do that anymore.
We had to hire somebody to produce that. We also, what else did we have to do? They had us jumping through hoops just to get open, but we were the largest tattoo shop in the state of Nevada for several years after that.
Yeah. Around that time was a really interesting time too, because like right when we opened up in 2003 at our old location, 2003, 2004, Hart and Huntington opened up their tattoo shop inside of the Palms and launched a TV show. Like at the same time, I think Miami Ink was, but anyway, it was like, I don't know if it was the first or second.
That's how we were able to expand. Once they opened, the zoning changed in Clark County, and we were allowed to be in C2 zoning, no longer in, light industrial. C2 zoning is the strip center. That was the beginning of a big change, which we kind of saw it coming. We knew it was going to happen.
Yeah.
I said to Austin one time when he was pretty young, I said, there's going to be one of these bucking shops on every corner. It'll be like nail salons. And here we are.
Yeah.
25 years later. And they're everywhere.
Yeah. So that basically, but like they got a lot of overflow from there too. If you remember, like there would be like all these like Canadians at that time were tourist heavy. So they would go there. They're like, oh, we don't want to wait like 4 hours in
They
line.
didn't like the prices.
And the prices. So then they randomly just happened to be right there. That's not like all.
Can I tell that story about the girl we put in there? Is that okay?
One girl.
A girl that wanted to work counter for us. We couldn't give her a job, a little blonde-haired girl. So she got a job at Hart Huntington, and we gave her a box of 500 cards, and she handed them out.
Oh, to like all the overflow? I didn't remember that.
If somebody didn't like the price of the tattoo, she would just go, here's, check these people out. And it was just all day she sent us business, which I'm sure they had plenty of business. Carrie, I remember him saying after they opened up, he's a T-shirt business. He's more of a brand. I don't think he was that into trying to compete with the tattooers in Las Vegas. He just wanted to build a brand.
Yeah.
Which they did, and they're very successful at it.
Yeah. So then, let's see. So it was like 2000, back to like 2003, 2005. Or 2003. No, I'm sorry. 2006, we opened up our new shop. Yeah. And then we were still kind of like having some interesting run-ins with like different people in the area. It was like some biker groups would come by, and they didn't like that we were opening up a nice big shop. So they
tried to intimidate us.
Like all back their bikes up in front of our shop and then walk through the shop and like just go beyond the front counter and into the booths. And I was just, like, I don't know, kill with kindness attitude. So I just sit there and like, oh, hey guys. Yeah. Thanks for coming to check out our shop. Like, cool, all right. And then they would never say shit to me for some reason. Cause I just like a skinny ass kid. And then they would just turn around and walk out. And then I would like hyperventilate and just decide to go back to my tattoo, do everything we could to keep the doors open.
Yeah.
No, that was the last time we ever.
That was 2006. We didn't have any problems with anybody after that. No.
At that point in time, it was like, now we were tattooing like soccer moms and
lots of firefighters, and tons of industry was like huge at the time. So like, people were making a ton of money in Vegas in the casino industry coming in, dealers and freaking nightclub people.
Yeah, I don't think anybody was
making like
how wide open it was going to be, but you could kind of feel it, at about the time that we opened our first shop. You knew it was going to get way bigger than it was.
Yeah.
You could just tell, because people that did, like you said, like nurses were getting tattooed. It wasn't just gangsters and hookers.
It really like in that short amount of time, we just saw like, I guess just
everybody's
TV helped to like kind of bring it to everybody's
I don't even know when that
living room at
Miami
the time,
Ink or something was the first one. That drove a lot of business too.
That was all pre-social media too. So everything we were doing, everything pre-Yelp, pre-Google reviews, like we had no online presence. I mean, we did. We was
word of mouth.
We built a website.
Local word of mouth.
I remember like we put a ton of money into like hiring some guy to come over and build us a website.
We put like 15 grand or something on a website, which, not anybody was doing that at the time too. So that helped us out a lot with,
I don't think a tattoo business could afford to throw that 15 grand for a website anymore.
Yeah.
Maybe.
I don't know.
But just like our security
days,
system. Remember, we had a security system there. Cost us 10 grand. 10 grand for a security. Now it's you can buy cameras for
at Costco and put them up. Yeah. So a lot's changed there, which is really funny. But I
don't know. We're like, then we also didn't shit. We always dealt with like the Great Recession. All of a sudden, we were just crushing it. And then 2008.
Yeah, we got through some disasters. Remember, when we first started, it was Y2K. And we were only like 2 years into tattooing, and everybody's like, oh, the world's going to end. Everything's going to shut down. Power's going to go down. We won't be able to tattoo. Made it through that. And then we went through 9/11.
Yeah.
And 9/11 drove a lot. It did exactly the opposite you would think. We did a lot of patriotic tattoos after 9/11.
Yeah.
Tons of them.
Yeah.
And that just increased our business instead of costing us business.
Yeah.
But the Great Recession was another story.
That kicked our butts. We were doing really, really good, and we decided, I don't know, I don't remember really what was going on. I think we tried to invest in some other stuff, and then just everything took a shit. So then we had to like clean house and just really get down to the nitty gritty and like show up and work every fucking. I mean, at that time we were always still working every day, but that was a pretty tough time. That was through a tough time. And a lot of tattooers sitting around with nothing to do, and everybody tends to get like pretty antsy
And you feel guilty if you
Yeah.
can't keep somebody busy, you know. I mean,
Yeah.
it's still that way. I mean, it's like
Yeah.
if you're not keeping these guys busy, it makes you feel, you know, it's just not a good feeling.
Yeah.
You want these people to come work with you and make money, and
Yes.
that's one of them. That's probably the hardest part of the tattoo business, or maybe that's any
Any business, I mean, you feel this great sense of responsibility, or
Yeah.
you should, when you open a business and you bring people
super
on.
guilty
And you want,
if you tell somebody they can make a living working with you, and then you can't help them. It's an awful feeling. But we've gone through many, the Great Recession, and then we went through COVID, which was the first time in our lives we'd ever had anybody tell us we couldn't come to work.
Yeah, the government just shut us down,
Locked
like
us
everybody, but that was a weird time and a very panicking time.
Pretty painful.
It was also right around when I started Maverick Supply Co. And we had just invested in all of this product, and it just got here. And then I launched my website in January, and I got a couple sales in January, and then February came around, like a couple more sales, and then March, and it was zero. The whole entire industry shut down, which was terrifying. So then it was like, all right, cool. Well, I guess I'll just hang out in my house and DM people. And this time Instagram was, kind of still strong and stronger than ever, I guess, when everybody was in the country was sitting around doing nothing. So I remember I was putting up to like 18 hours a day DMing people just on trying to get them to like
don't forget
be educated about Maverick. And and so then COVID.
But who knew that people were going to save up so much tattoo money while the lockdowns were going on, because we came out gangbusters after they opened us back up.
Most insane last 2 years ever.
Yeah.
So, and then now it's like the driest, slowest winter anyone has ever seen. So we're, come full circle. So
it's just like a cycle. Here we are. It is life. It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
And I think it's probably always been that way for tattooers from as far back as you can go. We've met some of the old ass tattooers from, historical tattooers like Bowery Stan, Philadelphia Eddie. Those guys have been through so much. They're gone now, but they were super influential and to the whole tattooing industry in this country, maybe in the world. Philadelphia Eddie has started the tattoo conventions, and we actually got to go do conventions with him, which was really fun and educational. I thought. I had really a good time.
We get to have lunch with Philadelphia Eddie and
Lyle
Tuttle. I think we had lunch with
Dan.
Both
was there. We're all sitting around the table. We were in
Vancouver, Washington.
We were having a brunch, and Lyle Tuttle, he always had a cane at that time. He was getting pretty old. He was like 85. He sat down at the table and he was talking to us all. And he goes, "You guys want to do some lines?" And we all looked up and went, "No." The dude was still doing the
party
at 85.
And chase like super hot young girls. Same with Philadelphia Eddie. Every time my girl that I was with at the time would like come around, he just wouldn't even pay attention to me. He would just stare at her and talk to her. Like, oh my God.
Same with your sister. They always. We remember the time that we had some ads in some tattoo magazines, and we had Courtney in a kind of a happy outfit.
Yeah, my sister
wasn't too racy, but it was racier than we didn't realize how racy it was until we realized that tattoo magazines were going to prisons. And we had prisoners contacting us, telling Courtney that when they got out, they were going to come to the shop and meet her. So we had to pull all our ads because we're like,
they were leaving messages on our machine of how hot she was. And I'm like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah.
It's so weird.
We've had some you just learn as you go. You're like, okay, that didn't really come into my mind. I thought tattoo magazines, okay. And then nothing wrong with prisoners looking at tattoo magazines, but don't put your daughter in there. Kind of racy outfit.
What are some of your favorite stories of working in that first shop back in 2003?
Oh, jeez. I don't know. I don't know about favorite stories, but I think I laid on the floor with a 911 operator probably a half a dozen times. I remember one time I got off the plane. I flew to Denver for some reason, and I got off the plane, and you and Becky called, and there was a truck had driven his truck up to the front door and had you hostage inside the shop. I don't know what that was about.
I don't remember either. I do remember that though. Yeah.
And
I remember a lot of very uncomfortable moments with people in the store, and then them like being drunk at like after hours, demanding that you tattooed them or whatever, and their friends are all there, and then it starts turning into this real hot situation where I'm trying to like, I don't know, I've always been kind of good at talking people out of being super violent and angry, and somehow
and I'm the total opposite. I would just get right in their face and just try to talk people down, and I'm like, come on.
Yeah, we had some fun times there at that shop though. Like that's when we were throwing some really crazy parties, and that was when there was like no fucking rules, man. We would throw like a Halloween party, and I decided I wanted to come up with, I was pretty quirky with some promotional ideas. So I decided, all right, it's Halloween, and I went around and I bought like 75 pumpkins, and I took my roommate at the time was a drummer, and he had a drum stage. It was just a lifter, basically. It was like 2 feet of plywood. And I put a blow-up pool on there, and I gutted 75 pumpkins and threw all the guts in the pool, and then surrounded the pool with all the pumpkins. And then we had a pumpkin gut wrestling contest where
with a bunch of strippers.
Yeah, these very nice young ladies that were my clients.
And we had ramps guys like on mini bikes jumping doing stunts, and there was a bar next door called the Royal Frog, and they opened their front and back doors and let us race through with the mini bikes through the bar.
Yeah, I don't know if they let us do that or if we were just doing that.
I think they liked it because
they never had anybody in there, and then all of a sudden there was like 500 people in there.
I'm not sure they wanted anybody in there.
But
there was something going on over there we can't talk about.
Yeah. But then we did some fun promotional shows though. We had this trucker hat art show where we had an 18-wheeler pull up out front, and I don't know, it was a client of ours, I guess. And then we distributed like 150 trucker hats to artists all over the country, and they sent them back to us, and we had them all painted and then all displayed in there. We did a silent auction, so they were all auctioned off, and 100% of the proceeds went to charity. We did a lot of charity stuff too, which is awesome. I remember everybody being really drunk at the end of the night there.
Well, we had a space behind that shop that was a big parking lot, and it was off. You couldn't see it from the main street, so we could do anything we wanted back there. So I had a friend that was an electrician that lighted the conventions.
Yeah, he would bring out all those.
So we'd bring towers of lights and generators and just make that place so cool back there. It was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We had numerous events there.
In the early days, we did piercing. So we had this guy, Kane Friesen. He was a street bike stunt dude, like back when that shit it wasn't even like a thing yet. And he ended up coming and being a piercer at a shop for like 2 or 3 years, or 2 years or whatever, until we ended up having to let him go because he was obviously like needed to pursue what he wanted to do with his street bike stuff. But anyway, he had some pretty crazy stories where him and all his friends, we would all come up, and then we would block off the street, which was like a 5-lane road, and we would block it off with cars, and then have like 10 street bikes doing stunts like burnouts and wheelies up and down the street till the cops would like raid it, and then they would all just take off and run from the cops, and there would just be like smoke and fucking burnout shit everywhere, and we would just go back in and act like we're just like, yeah, that was just our day, I don't know who those kids are.
We tattooed like cops too, so they kind of let us get away with some stuff.
It was pretty fun.
Yeah.
We had the trucker hat art shows, the Halloween things. We just did a lot of.
We had a grand opening too there. The first party where Ben, remember Ben Das Frank?
Yeah,
who's now Das Frank.
Yeah.
He was our MC, and we had Kelly and Andrew, who had
they were sword swallowers. They were sideshow people, so they would be hanging out.
They were so good at entertaining. And I remember I had to get up on stage and drink a cocktail through Andrew's head. Like he threaded a hose through his nose and brought it out of his mouth.
Yeah.
Of course, cleaned it, put it in a drink. And I stood there and drank a drink on stage through his head, grossed everybody out. I thought it was funny.
Even grosser is he would drink a bag of his own urine through his own head. So he would put the straw through his nose, came out the...
Maybe he did that on the stage.
No, I don't know about on stage. He used to do that weird urine drinking shit. Like at the shop, he would bring it by.
You got a video of his wife drinking his.
Yeah.
He had stretched ears, and he stuck his penis through the hole in her ear, pissed in a cup, and she drank it. And
I have all that on video, so if we can get a hold of that, that would be real sweet.
That's some crazy times. Nothing like that happens in Studio 21 anymore.
It's pretty mellow.
I can assure you.
Yeah.
that I know of.
Yeah, he used to hang himself from his chest, big hooks in his
Out
own
in front of the
chest,
shop.
hang himself from the stairs right in front of the shop, and like.
I used to help Kane do the piercings for that. That was pretty gross. I'm glad I didn't do that.
He talked you into getting your nipples pierced too.
Yeah, he did.
Yeah, which I fucking never would do that.
That shit hurt.
Yeah.
Well, he was having a bad day. He was grumpy because he wasn't getting any tips. And I'm like, well, I guess numerous times I actually took one for the team. I guess.
Yeah.
I said, okay, just here's my nipples. I don't have anything else to pierce.
Yeah.
Shit, that hurt.
Yeah, I remember mom. So my mom this was back in the 2003 to 2006 era. My mom still had a full-time job. She was a graphic artist, and she had this young guy that worked for her for a little bit, and he was obsessed with getting his penis pierced, and he kept coming to our shop, and like, I don't know why. That's like around the time I specifically remember, like, I'm not even into piercing. Like, why do we even have this here? And this is weird. Now mom's coworkers are like coming in and getting their wieners pierced. And I'm like, do I want the Spencer family to be like known for getting your wiener pierced? No offense, piercers, but I'm like, it just wasn't my gig.
Yeah.
So, and we also had some we had her accountant from her work ended up doing some accounting work for us. And he came in, and we had to fire him because we caught him photocopying all of the penis piercings out of the penis portfolio, or the
and then we found a bunch of
the penis portfolio
porn on Becky's computer. He was doing our books and downloading porn at our shop on the computer. We're like, you got to go, dude.
Yeah,
we can get somebody else to count the money.
Yeah, I'm not. Yeah, looking back, I'm like, why was our accountant even in the store?
Yeah.
I guess he was doing it on the side or something.
We
come in and do our books for us.
It was weird.
Yeah,
we learned a
some
lot
shit
over the years from those kind of experiences. Our new shop was much more tame than our first location.
Yeah.
I think the whole industry is more tame than it was.
Yeah, 1,000%. And, yeah. And I'm
even
older,
your clientele is more tame. I mean, we don't have nearly as many people that would do the things that they would do in the old shop now.
Yeah.
I mean, the exhibitionists and we've had some of those.
Yeah. Yeah. I remember poor old Phil Luck having to do a consultation. I sent him out there to talk to these people. I knew that they were going to be characters and knew something freaking weird was going on. And they had brought a portfolio in of pictures of like his wife's genitalia and close-ups. And they had drawn all these pictures all around, like little detailed floral designs all around her genitalia. And they just came in and they just wanted to show this to a tattooer to get an idea of how much the cost would be and then make Phil extremely uncomfortable. And then they basically, I don't even think they had any interest in getting the tattooed.
She did it. In the booth that is now adults, not yet.
Oh, Pidge? Yeah.
Pidges.
Yeah.
Sorry. Pidge.
Yeah.
I just went blank for a second there. Phil Luck had to tattoo that girl, and he said, I'm only going to get so close to your butthole, and then that's it. I'm not going to go any closer, but he did that tattoo. And she laid there, spread eagle, buck naked, for about 4 hours while people are walking by. He goes, I'm going to go and have a smoke. You can get up, you can cover yourself up. And she would never get up and cover herself up. We were like,
weird
dang, that's some interesting people out there.
Yeah. That was like what we were talking about earlier, too, is just getting to know people in the most intimate, long-form kind of content way. Tattooing provides you. Like, you just can sit down.
Other than barring those kind of stories, the fun part of tattooing, I think what I liked most about it was meeting people and talking to people from all over the world. We had people from everywhere, and just the conversations and the things you learn from people about how they live, where they are. I really enjoyed that. I've never been a super big traveler, but I traveled through them, to learning about them. I thought it was pretty awesome too.
Yes.
Still, I mean, being in Vegas, our audience is worldwide, so you get some really interesting folks in there.
Yeah.
I mean, I've tattooed billionaires. I've tattooed, 4-star generals and all kinds of people.
Yeah.
That you would tattooed an astronaut's sister one day. Astro Kate was her name. Her sister came through on her way to Florida to pick her sister up when the space shuttle landed. They were going to get her out there, and she told me she would be sick for about 2 weeks. So she was getting some sort of tattoo to commemorate that. I thought, wow, that's pretty crazy to talk to somebody who's going to get her her sister was on the space station, and she literally was showing me videos of her talking to her sister. I think she actually called her while I was tattooing her, and I'm talking to an astronaut while I'm tattooing her sister. It was on the space station.
Weird.
I mean, you get these kind of opportunities that other people just don't get. In our industry.
Yeah. In tattooing in Las Vegas too. I mean, I remember just having the weirdest, like, a client that's like, I'm a dolphin trainer. You're like, is that real? I didn't know that that's a thing. Or a lot, I work with the lions at the zoo, or at the, the fucking tiger Siegfried show and stuff. So
had a lot of professional athletes and actresses and actors and musicians.
Which kind of brings me into like, also, like, we've done some interesting things. Like, we never had a TV show take off, but we have been under contract with multiple production companies and filmed multiple pilots over the years. Like, we go back to like TV taking off. We were getting hit up weekly by people, like production companies and stuff. They were like, whoa, a father, son, and then my sister ran the front counter for 7 years. So then my mom, later on, she quit her full-time job and came on with us like around 2006 or something like that. The news.
A little bit.
Yeah.
Okay.
But, we did some really interesting shit. Like, we went out to LA and got to like sit down with Kat Von D's agent at these big ass tables and this big, beautiful
A&E, History Channel, all those.
Yeah.
Different.
We did like we pitched to like 7 different networks all. And, I think at that time we were that was like towards the tail end on that specific pitch, but we were just kind of tired and didn't really think that it was.
Well, they want to do drama, and we're really not drama people.
Yeah, it's hard enough, like, obviously working with your family and, running a small business. So the last thing we needed was like people like fucking throwing gas on fire.
Yeah.
So
we did do I think the biggest television thing we did was The Biggest Loser. We did an episode of The Biggest Loser. Remember?
Yeah.
I will never forget the day that occurred. I was tattooing somebody, and I saw a man and a young lady behind him with a clipboard walking through the shop. And I saw them milling around, and I was like, what's going on there, And finally the guy came to the door and tap, tap, tap. Excuse me. It was, I have a television show called The Biggest Loser, and I was wondering if you guys might be interested in letting us use your shop and film here.
Yeah.
And I looked up at him and I said, I'm not sure I want to have anything to do with something called The Biggest Loser. It doesn't sound, I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
And he goes, I have 13 million viewers on primetime CBS or whatever it was. And I was like, hang on a second. Took my gloves off, and the next thing I know, we were on The Biggest Loser. It was pretty cool.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Which we had for years, like people coming in. We saw you on The Biggest Loser. Like, oh, shit.
People would bring me, they'd be like, I stuck this card on my fridge 8 years ago.
Yeah.
That thing created business for a long time.
Yeah.
Biggest Loser. And then we had a bunch of other shows. Becky and I were going through some old pictures, and I was like, we were on some sort of a country western ladies show.
Well, I remember walking into Best Buy one day, and you were tattooing on all the TVs because we did that poker. There was like a poker show, and it was a part of a bet where they lost a bet.
I bet you.
Yeah. And then you had to do a tattoo on somebody or something like that.
Yeah, there were some super famous poker players. Like those guys were called the Young Guns of Poker, and we had them all in there.
Yeah.
They were fun.
Yeah, we did a lot of.
That was a good show.
So we're still open. 2000, what's this month or this year? 2024. We're going to open 21 years this year.
This is our 21st year. This is our 21st year.
Yeah. So are you still tattooing much?
Not very much, but I'm still willing to. But
yeah. So
you know what happens when somebody comes to me and wants to get tattooed? If someone else can do it, I give it to them because we want them to be busy. Yeah. So as long as I can filter my tattoos to them, that's good.
Is there anything out there that you'd be more apt to say yes to?
I like to do chest pieces. If somebody comes to me for,
really?
I've always thought those are some of my best pieces. My chest pieces.
Yeah, just big, like, or
I like the symmetry of it. I like traditional chest pieces. Let's keep it traditional style or neo-crit. But
minimalism too.
I don't really care to do anything bigger than that. It hurts my hands too much. I think I'm getting old.
Yeah. So, well, cool. I think that's about it. I think we'll wrap it up. But I think what is
up to date here.
Yeah, that's about it. We're up to date. And if you have any
didn't tell all the stories.
We got a lot more stories. We're gonna do some more stuff. We'll do some bad stuff. But yeah.
So anyway,
Well, thanks for having me.
yeah. Thanks, Dad. Thanks for coming.
It's fun. Yeah.
But anyway, stay tuned, and we're gonna have some more fun guests coming up, and we are super excited to share this with you. So have a good one. Thank you so much. Bye.